It's great to be here in India. I always love coming here. The energy here is awesome. So thank you guys all for coming out here today for our first town hall Q&A in India. I'm so excited to be here. I've been traveling to a lot of places around the world to hear from our community, and India has 130 million people who use Facebook. It's the second biggest country. So it's really important, I think, to have a chance to hear from all of you today and hear what you're thinking about, and we'll probably get some ideas for how we can make Facebook a better service. So thank you guys. I really appreciate all of you guys coming out here today to have this dialogue. We often talk about our mission at Facebook as helping people connect, and a lot of times people think about that as sharing photos or simple things that are going on throughout your day. But when there's a disaster, it's all you want to know is whether the people that you love are safe. And one of the things that I'm really happy about is we activated the safety check tool that we have for the community on Facebook, and already more than 3 million people have marked themselves as safe, and more than 150 million people in the community have been notified that their friends and loved ones are safe from the impact of the earthquake.
Hi, Mark.
Hey.
Myself, Alkijan, and I'm a chartered accountant by profession. So my question is very simple. And why are you showing so much interest in India? Answer honestly.
So our mission is to give everyone in the world the power to share what's important to them and to connect every person in the world. And India is the world's largest democracy. It's one of the biggest countries where if you really have a mission of connecting every person in the world, you can't do that without helping to connect everyone in India. So we think about this in two ways. First, there are already more than 130 million people in India who use Facebook. It is one of the largest communities that we have across the world, and we take our responsibility to serve the people in India who are already using Facebook and WhatsApp, which is also in our family of products. We take that very seriously. So there's just a tremendous opportunity in India, right? If there are 1 billion people who are not connected, then this is one of the biggest opportunities, I think, to help develop the economy here and to help alleviate poverty and really lift up a lot of folks. And it's easy to talk about this as something that will be important for India, but I actually think that connecting people in India is one of the most important things that we can do for the whole world.
So I need to ask you that although we are 130 million users here, how do you wish to connect with those who are not on FB or who don't even have any access to internet? Yes.
Yeah, this is the key question, right? So if I just talked a bit about why I thought connecting everyone to the internet was important, I think what you're asking about is kind of how you do this, right? How do you get 1 billion people onto the internet and to improve their lives in that way? And the first thing that I'd say is just we can look at the efforts that we've had with internet.org and our other programs around the world and here in India. And here's a new stat that we haven't shared before, is there are 15 million people around the world who have access to the internet now because of the efforts that we're taking with internet.org, who wouldn't have had it otherwise. And if you believe these stats that we've seen that show that for every 10 people who get access to the internet, there's a new job is created and a person is lifted out of poverty, then connecting 15 million people to the internet around the world is that's a pretty good impact. So I've seen some cynical reporting saying that the program isn't doing as well as we want. I don't know. If you don't think that's good, I want to know what you think is good. But we're off to a good start around the world. What we found is here in India, almost 1 million people now have access to the internet because of these efforts who didn't before. What we find is that in the places that have access to these free basic services, the rate of people getting on the internet doubles, right? So we've started it in some areas, and and it hasn't expanded throughout the whole country yet. So in the areas that have it, internet growth rate is twice as much as it was before. So that's the main message that I deliver, is, this is a program that is working around the world. We just started in India a bit earlier this year, so it's still a bit earlier in its growth, but we know that this works, and we know that it will connect more people.
So this is a question which lots and lots of people want answers to. It's one of the top voted questions on the thread, and I think it's a serious one, deserving a serious answer.
All right.
And this is, I seriously don't want to get any more invitations on Candy Crush. How can I stop getting it?
There you go. All right. See, so this is where these town hall Q&As are really useful. Because I actually saw this question, that it was the top voted question on my thread. So I sent a message to the person who runs the team in charge of our developer platform. And I said, by the time that I do this town hall Q&A, I think it would be good if we had a solution to this problem. So we do. So she emailed me later that night and was like, all right, look, there are some tools that are kind of outdated that allow people to send invitations to people who have never used a game and have gotten a lot of invitations in the past, but don't play games on Facebook. And we hadn't prioritized shutting that down because we just had other priorities. But if this is the top thing that people care about, then we'll prioritize that and we'll do it. So we're doing it.
We have a question here from Miriam on internet.org and net neutrality. I'll let her ask.
Good afternoon, Mark. I'm Miriam George, Assistant Professor from CMR Institute of Technology, Bangalore. And I'd say that internet.org is actually a great initiative which provides a lot of opportunities. However, there's been a lot of discussion and talks on net neutrality and internet.org. So my question is, does internet.org support net neutrality fully, let's say 100%, without any filtering?
Yeah, absolutely. So, net neutrality is an important principle, right? And we do a lot to support it, both in terms of pushing for regulation that kind of enables this, and also just in our own work, building an open platform that any developer can build something for, regardless of who they are, as long as they kind of follow the basic rules of what internet.org is. So let me kind of explain and go into detail on both of these. So in terms of regulation, now I think a lot of why there's this net neutrality debate here in India and in a lot of places around the world is countries are just kind of going around and figuring out what they want their regulation to be for the internet and for net neutrality. The US, I think it was either earlier this year or last year, put in place rules that had pretty strong net neutrality regulations that we gave our support for and suggested that there were kind of very clear rules on net neutrality. That got put into place. And now, kind of following that, a lot of other countries are also figuring out exactly what rules they want, and we're generally supportive of that across the world as well. In terms of open platform, there have been a lot of stories here in India that suggest that what we're trying to do with internet.org is just have a small set of internet services that people can use and kind of somehow make it so that people can't have access to the rest. And that really couldn't be further from the truth. What we're trying to do is, we realize that, the internet is expensive to provide, right? I mean, the operators all collectively spend, billions, hundreds of billions of dollars on this infrastructure, and you can't just provide the whole internet for free. But what we have figured out is we can do this free basics program that make it so that any developer who meets the definition of a basic service, so not very high bandwidth, no rich videos or big file downloads, but any developer is doing something that's basically text, pretty low bandwidth, not directly cannibalizing a lot of the operator business. Anyone can kind of offer their services for free, and it will be zero rated through the free basics platform that we have. And that, I think, has been very powerful And it provides this neutral platform where we're not being a filter on any of the content that goes into that. And I think that that's really important and really good. So, net neutrality overall, it's, this is an important topic, right? I mean, it's really important that we have regulations that prevent companies and people from doing things that are going to hurt people, right? And I think it's really clear if you look at what the regulations are trying to prohibit, where that hurts people and where it doesn't, right? So, so if you're a person, you're trying to, watch some videos on YouTube or Netflix, and an operator wants to charge you more to do that than something else, then, that's bad. Right? I mean, that hurts people. It prevents your ability to access content. It's a violation of net neutrality, and that's the type of thing that we should have regulations that prohibit. If an operator is trying to advantage their own service, right, by making you pay more for something else, then that's the kind of thing you can see why that hurts people, and you want net neutrality regulations in place that are going to prevent that. But at the same time, it is possible to take this too far, right? And some of the people who are advocating for net neutrality regulations also advocate that you shouldn't be able to do any kind of zero rating or free services at all. But when I look at this, I see, if you have a student who is getting free access to the internet to be able to help do her homework, and she wouldn't have had access otherwise, who's getting hurt there? Right? I mean, that's good. Right? We want that. There should be more of that. If there's a fisherman in a village who now has some free access to the internet to help sell some of his fish and provide for his family, no one gets hurt by that. Right? And that's good. We need to get everyone on the internet. The good news here is that around the world, all the regulations that are put in place are basically honoring this principle, right? So good net neutrality provisions, kind of blocking things that operators might do that kind of hurt people, but also prioritizing things like zero rating that are necessary for making sure that we can connect everyone to the internet. So the US regulations that I mentioned earlier, very clear on this. Very strong net neutrality provisions, completely separate in terms of how they treat zero rating and not blocking zero rating at all, right? So, and that's a country where most people have access to the internet. It's not like India where 1 billion people don't have access to the internet, and even more innovation is necessary to expand on that. I think it's just this week, the EU just released rules on net neutrality and zero rating, where again, they put in place some net neutrality rules, very clear that zero rating and things that provide some free access to the internet are kind of clear to go, and are going to be regulated separately and are not prohibited by any of the net neutrality regulations. So that's my view on this. Internet.org and Facebook 100% support net neutrality. We lobby for it across the world. We build an open platform with no filtering. You guys should count on us to be supportive of that. But at the same time, I think we should all make sure that we also continue to push for access, because that is extremely important. And I'll leave you with one thought on this, which is that most of the folks who are pushing for net neutrality have access to the internet already, right? So I mean, I see these petitions going around net neutrality, and that's great, right? I mean, we need to mobilize on the internet to push for this stuff. But the people who are not yet on the internet can't sign an online petition pushing for increased access to the internet, right? So yeah, and I think that this is a really key point. I think we all have a moral responsibility to look out for people who do not have the internet and make sure that the rules that kind of benefit us and make sure that operators can't do anything that hurt us don't get twisted to hurt people who don't have a voice. So.